Hi again, everyone, friends and followers of Pikes Peak Trades. It's Wes again, giving you the holiday weekend update. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving if you celebrated it. We're almost through the month of November, one trading day left on Monday, so you can expect some monthly charts for me early next week. But I'll just focus on the weeklies and the dailies with this update and take you again stocks A to Z. So we'll look at the major indices and ETFs that I follow, and of course take a look at all the big names that you might want to be looking at: Apple, AMD, Amazon, through all the way into Zoom. So let's start with the weeklies here. So we're looking at the SPX weekly. You can see very clearly an all-time closing high on the SPX weekly. You simply can't get too bearish when you see things like this. This is well into now its bull channel that you can see I have targeting still a price sometime in early 2021 above 4,000. Now you're also going to note, as we do with Elliott Wave, Elliott Wave is about probabilities of paths. It's not about certainty. So I always keep an alternate count there, and you're going to see the possibility if we somehow do get a bearish reversal of an expanded flat pullback type look on SPX. The thing that gives me a little bit of pause here, and I can just draw this indicator for you in real time, is here on the weekly, we do see negative divergence across all of the trailing indicators that I follow, RSI, MACD, and the stochastics. And this is how tops form. I'm not saying that a top is in. You see my bullish primary account. But I just want to point out that divergences like this typically do usher in the possibility that we get a pullback. But I would also remind everybody that only one of these all-time highs becomes the top. So if you consistently try to top pick shorting these new highs, you're going to be wrong every single time but one. So aggressive shorts that I do see out there on Twitter due to high sentiment readings and things like that, that's a quick way to really suffer in your account. The trend is still clearly up. Now, might you have wanted to hedge a little bit? Certainly, I did put some hedges on based on some things that I'll show you on both the daily and the short term. But the trend is still firmly up with the possibility that, especially when you see some tech stuff, we get some actually very, very bullish breakouts. So let's get to the Qqq weekly here. You're going to see again solidly within its bull channel, and another like SPX, an all-time weekly closing high. I do have that red arrow down there again to indicate the potential of a momentum divergence, but we're going to see you've got two bullish upside targets well into the 300s on QQQ. Running through some of the other main things, you're going to see IWM nearly with an upper rail touch. So SPX QQQ actually at the lower end of their bull channel, but IWM here near a near touch of its upper channel. And I'm wondering maybe one more week to actually get that touch there where my crosshairs are, right at that minor three target, is what we could have in store for IWM after another really good week, up almost 4%. Taking you through financials, they've just been on a tear here since late October. Look at this massive gap. You'll see that a little more clearly, I think, on my daily chart. But again, could we see kind of at this mid-channel area another run up next week to tag this middle rail and a more typical fib extension? That's definitely the bull case here as we look through. I'm going to get back to the metals a little bit later. You see them on my tabs there, but let's just stick to the stock indices. So let's look at some daily charts now. Get you into the SPX on the daily. Kind of an interesting doji candle. And doji candles here are a little bit of indecision, but typically it's just consolidation in the direction of the move, which is what the probabilities say. So a little bit of indecisiveness on Friday. Also, remember Friday after Thanksgiving, it's an illiquid day. It's a low volume day. You'll certainly see that on a volume indicator on some tech names. That's not surprising. It's a half day trading. So this is not an unsurprising daily candle at all when you're looking for bullish continuation. But we didn't make a new all-time high. So I do have in the possibility that this could usher in perhaps just a deeper retracement. If the frothiness of these sentiment readings, nearly every sentiment indicator that I follow is bullishly off the charts, it's possible we do get a sharp, quick pullback. But again, it's alternate and it's low probability. On the QQQ, so if I just briefly do click on some volume here, you can see right down there one of the lowest volume days that we've had. It actually might be one of the lowest volume days of 2020. I didn't check it, but it's certainly way down there. The interesting thing I would point out here is that candle, that daily candle, there is a gap up extension, a little bit of an inverted hammer look. It's not a gravestone doji, but this type of potential inverted hammer could signal temporary buying exhaustion. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but the look is there if we get a surprising result early next week and we don't get the typical green futures gap up Monday. Get into something like Apple and you can see that a little bit more. That one is a little bit more of potentially a gravestone doji. It's not a red candle. We didn't see the close below the open, but still beneath that declining blue trend line. It's right on these other indicators if I unhide them, those moving averages. So right on support. To get me more bullish on Apple, we need to see a breakout early next week that decisively clears that descending blue line on some volume coming in, and obviously then that would be the big boost to the SPX to bust through to its new all-time highs. Continuing on with some of the daily charts here, we get into Amazon. I've been pointing out these horizontal pivot levels that have really contained Amazon price all the way back since the middle of October, nearly 2 months, and it hasn't yet broken out. Now, Amazon, right in the middle of these two pivots here, the decisive break for Amazon early next week is going to be above about 32.50. So I have been burned enough with Amazon that I know that I don't want to try to front run this. I can wait for confirmation. Kudos to you that are more aggressive and decided perhaps to hold through the weekend. December 4 calls. I did have December 4 calls, but I did sell. I did sell them out on Wednesday here when I saw that price couldn't push through this first pivot. It did move above that pivot. We didn't get any real traction. So the gains that I might have left on the table were offset by some premium decay. So we're going to see what happens here on Amazon. Obviously, you see a triangle as a bearish alternate, and that triangle matches exactly with the alternate count on Apple and the alternate count on QQQ. So Facebook is one garnering a lot of attention. A lot of good technicians out there with some great charts on Facebook. Inside day for Facebook on Friday. If the trend is up, that is bullish consolidation in the direction of the trend. Like Apple, like Amazon, a breakout early next week has to conquer these rails. So 280, 281, and then the diagonal rail, anything above, let's say 284 is going to usher in what I have here as wave 3 nested targets. So the bullish scenario for Facebook is way up there. And again, going into weekends, I just tend not to take aggressive amounts of risk to the upside. So if we do get that breakout and you're not in these big tech names, there's still room to run to the upside. You can increase the probability of your entry when you wait for some of the confirmation here. Won't take you through Qqq and Microsoft. Qqq and Microsoft, very similar, still looking for breakthroughs of resistance. But of course, you want to see Tesla. And I would point out with that ellipse there highlighting Friday's candle, it does look like Apple and QQQ. So I don't know, is this a buyer's exhaustion, gap up, and a potential inverted hammer? It's yet to be seen. I would point out it didn't actually tag the upper rail. That would occur at about 606, 607 if Monday we do get the typical gap up. And you can see that I've got it just within potentially a minor 4 pullback. I did recently update my longer term charts and channeling for Tesla, and I do have the potential of a significant top occurring, let's say in the 650 area. There is a way for me to put a much more bullish extension in a minor 5 degree. I'm not going to do that yet unless we just see Tesla next week just power right through any of these areas. So of course, yet to be seen. And we're going to wait for Monday on some of this. Let me now get you into some of the dailies. IWM, XLF. IWM daily toying right around with this upper rail, as I pointed out on the weekly chart. Do we get a Monday gap up to hit this minor 3 target? Would that then be the buyer exhaustion signal? Well, that's what happened back here in early June. Do we see that play out again? I've got that circled and highlighted because of the possibility that it actually could. So XLF also hugging against this rail here, like you saw on the weekly and middle channel. This is a little more short-term rail with an inside day within an uptrend. So the probability says that we would be expecting more movement up here on XLF. Now, one of the individual names that I've liked, that I've held in my primary investing fund is Morgan Stanley. I did trim Morgan Stanley as I thought the extension above this 8-day EMA at profit levels for me that I was happy to take, and approaching one primary, one alternate fib. So that fits a trading discipline. So the trading discipline would be when price moves in the direction of your projection and it hits your calculated price target. You got to have an exit target for anything. You should never blindly enter a trade not having a clear idea for stop and exit. And Morgan Stanley simply did. And so that's why you saw I took about I took a majority of my profits off the table, wanted to let a little bit run. Okay, so some individual names before we get into metals. Everyone wants to see Zoom. Here we get now to the Z. So on Zoom, a breakout of this rail that I called early in the day on Friday, an aggressive day trader would have had an awesome day. And what a clear exit signal for a day trader pushing right up against this 50-day SMA. So I know from what I follow on Twitter, there were some Lotto Friday option calls. Congrats to those that did it. Now we want to see if this primary low is actually in at a nearly perfect 38% fib. Do we get a push through the 50-day SMA and this 50% retracement level? If we do, that gives probability an edge to bullish resumption. And then maybe at that point, we see Zoom with the big run up into its December earnings, which certainly has a lot of appeal. That makes a lot of sense if the general market does resolve itself bullishly to the upside, as the potential is already there. Let me take you through DraftKings. So DraftKings was a really good trade for me. I added call options, December 4th call options, on this candle retesting the rail and the 8-day EMA. And I did close the last of those call options on this candle that pushed above here, this upper rail. Now, because it closed above, we might get a bullish extension into $54. It's totally possible. Again, I was happy with the profit. It reached my target. It breached the rail. That's my trading discipline. Might I want to have been more aggressive and keep maybe, let's say, a third of those on the table? Certainly could have, and wouldn't begrudge anyone that chose to keep those. DraftKings solidly within a bullet channel. Any pullback is just a minute degree 4. It could be very shallow, maybe just to retest that 8-day EMA. That is one I would look to load up again on any pullback. Let's get to AMD. And the rest of these on here, the only other one I'll show on here will be Beyond. So AMD with the hammer looking candle, it's trending up and looking to break out of this last pivot area in the 88 to 89 range. And if it does, most likely here I've got this sub-degree 2. It probably needs to go here, and I'll be able to put a solid projection internally on this. But you can see where I think AMD is going in the month of December. So let's do Beyond, and I will go ahead and show Netflix because it had a very good day. So Beyond still struggling with this horizontal pivot in the 141 to 142 area. I'll be looking next week to see if Beyond can tag this minute target, which is going to come close to corresponding to this down rail. So it's got like a zoom-like potential. If it can tag that rail and break through, then we need to be really giving weight to this more bullish resolution. But if it can't break through this pivot, then we've got the possibility that we're actually in some continuation and we're not actually done. We have either a resumption of an intermediate wave or perhaps a resumption of a primary wave down. So my position is not there on Beyond, just eyes on it. So to Netflix, a nice decisive move above an 8 and 21 EMA, held back here by the 34-day EMA, but in position to potentially gap up. And anyone that had already entered and tried to front run this off that minuet degree 2 bottom is already nicely in the money, and you can see very bullish upside targets here on Amazon. So now I want to get to the metals. So the metals, I want to get back to some weekly charts here. And due to the depth of the pullback in both GDX and GLD, the length and time of the pullback, I had to alter my counts. So I think GDX put in an intermediate 2 decline. I had this as potentially a minor 2. It's of a higher degree. It's way too long and way too deep for this to be a minor 2. So I think we might have found the lower support on this bull flag on the weekly chart here, support right at the 50-week, and I think potentially we've got a turnaround for metals and miners this week. You can see that bull flag here on GLD, and then upside targets. There's one that's conservative and one that's obviously much more aggressive for GLD. We're going to see. This has been a tough hold for any miners and metals bulls. We've got to see a positive week next week to try to give probabilities in that favor. So to the daily, and then this is where I will finish for the video. So GLD daily, you see that bottom bull flag rail tag, and a little bit of a reversal there in GDX. You're going to see a much more bullish candle. That is a bullish engulfing candle of Wednesday's action. I've got that circled because I added. So I added GDXJ, and then here I added SILJ. I'm a little more bullish on the potential of silver miners here on this, what is a nice reversal candle as well. So just because it's staring at me on this tab, I just recently started charting crypto, and this is XRP, Ripple as you know it, and I think we're in a consolidation here that I think we've gotten an intermediate or a minor degree top. We're moving down to consolidate up. I do think there's one more lower low, but I am new to charting and following crypto, so this is just my first run. If this sell-off is done, then I've got that as a minor 4, and then I've got XRP going above $1. So always fun stuff to chart. Hope you had a great trading week and a good holiday week if you celebrated. Looking forward to getting December going and finishing off 2020. What a year it's been. So continue to like and follow. I appreciate that. I'll try to continue to be active on Twitter. Hope everyone has a great weekend. See ya.